Happy Thursday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand and it is perfect.
For muscles, uh, there's no expansion strategies, just so I'm making sure. It's only compression, correct?
For what?
For muscles, it's only compression by the way they work, just with sarcomere shortening.
If they're shortening,
Yeah.
in general, it would be towards compression. So, okay, so here's a little dirty secret. At the two ends of the extreme, it's compression on both ends. So when a muscle contracts, okay, so just use your biceps as an example. Okay, so if I bend my elbow, I contract my biceps, right? And it compresses and it gets firm, it gets small, it gets squeezed into that space, right? And then as I extend my elbow, it expands, right? And so it goes from the compressed state to its expanded state. But if I take it to the extreme stretch, it recompresses. So, but it's a different shape of compression that I had here. So this is compressed short and wide, right? Because I got big monster pythons for biceps. See, that's a joke. Grace got it. And then at this end, it's elongated, so it compresses long ways and it gets a little bit narrower and tubular. So there's compression at both ends. And this is how you produce tension, right? That's why you feel a stretch at the end, right? So the muscle itself, compresses and expands, but when you're shortening, so if I'm moving towards concentric orientation of any kind, you're going to move towards a compressive strategy. The question mark is where did you start? Okay, so if I started at the very end range, right, there might be a relative expansion as I alleviate that end range tension. In the maximum eccentric orientation, there might be some measure of expansion, but again, in general, you're going to move towards compression. So you're correct.
If you're doing like abduction or any like,
are you talking about like table tests and stuff?
Yeah.
Like you're measuring something on the table?
Yeah. If their presentation is, something you've seen before, but the interventions seem like they're potentially pushing it away from where you want it to go.
You mean like I screwed up and I did the wrong thing?
Either just like an anomaly or maybe that too.
Most of the time it's just me screwing up.
Okay.
Right? Everything that we do is based on a probability. So I measure my chessboard. I have my three-dimensional representation of this human, and I have to make the best judgment on my understanding. Okay, and then so I intervene, and then I retest. So I have no judgment in the whole process. It's just like here's what I thought I had. Here's what I did because of that. Here's what happened, and then I just do next. Right.
Okay.
It would be rare because I have checks and balances within my process that help me to confirm what I think is going on. Right. But I missed the target. There's a percentage where I miss the target because it's all based on probability. Well, it's like to quote Annie Duke, we're playing poker. Right. So 76% of the time I'm correct. 24%, maybe not under certain circumstances. Maybe sometimes I hit it out of the park and I'm 92% correct. The point is you've got to be prolific with everything that you do. That's how you get good so Dolly Parton wrote 3,000 songs, but not very many of them were great songs, but she wrote a lot of them. And then that's how you get great. So the number of failures that you need to get really, really good is a very, very high number. But you got to do it in a safe atmosphere. That's why I'm such a proponent of mentorship and apprenticeship models, especially for what we do. It is the only way, in fact, it's the only way to learn how to do this, is to do it under the direction of someone else first, because that's how you're going to get your reps in a safe manner. Okay. So if you're just done with school, You best be finding somebody that you can follow and work under and do it for free if you have to. So you get your reps, so you get your exposure, so you learn to see things. There is no book that's going to teach you what we talk about on these calls. This is all experiential. That's why it's so important. That's why internships are important. That's why apprenticeships are important. That's why having a mentor is so important, because you need the guidance, because you can't, you can learn anything, but the stuff that we do cannot be taught. It has to be experienced.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right.
An ISA question.
Never heard of it.
And I've seen this presentation actually a couple times this week. So with testing, it presents as narrow, but my hands are so far apart from each other, right? And they all have different histories. Like there's a couple of them that had like past pregnancies that were an issue, and there's others that like don't have that easy of an explanation as to why you can explain what's going on. But
yeah,
and I actually cheated and ran this by Campo because I did have a question, but like I was trying to decipher like whether I trust my hands or if kind of whatever change anatomically is going to change our expectation of what's going on at the axial skeleton.
Mm-hmm. So when you put them at that transition point between the inhale and the exhale with the arm position, that's where the decision-making capability is, as to whether it's moving or not and how much it moves. And so that's the best place to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no issues with going, I don't know, and then doing something and then just see what happens, right? Because there's nothing magical about the ISA other than the fact that it's going to lead you in a direction. And then you still have to follow the same process. You still have to say, I think this is this. Here's my intervention. Here's what happened. And then what's going to happen over time, like, and again, you've been doing this for a while now, but what's going to happen over time is your judgment gets better and better and better. So when you see these kind of iffy ones, so somebody asked me, they go, hey, I was 110 and now I'm 90. Like, I don't really care about the number, right? And they said, how is that possible that I could do that? It's like, because you probably started, really close to 90 as a human being, and then your training takes you, it flattens you out and it makes it look a little bit wider. And then you sort of overcame that. And now it's kind of back to where you started, right? Because there are people that are in the middle range.
Yeah, I think
So,
you know how things happen in like threes, and like this happened multiple times.
oh,
like
like, yeah,
back,
like, oh yeah.
and you're starting to question yourself. Is like, is it just the way that I'm administering this? Which I don't think it is, because, well,
but that's a really good question to ask.
Yeah,
that's a powerful question to ask because it allows you to examine your own bias.
And what I do is I basically go back like the next session. I basically tell them, I go, yeah, we're gonna throw that one out. But like I'm pretty confident in the way that I'm measuring it to at least get consistently like the same answer. It's just a matter of I'm not really sure where to go with that answer in terms of like trying to come up with my visual representation of what's going on underneath. Like I try and like paint that picture in my mind of like what's going on under this and how could this actually like feed into my assessment to guide me, or is this just like I'm just doing this because I'm doing this?
Right. I think that the answer is that if there's a question mark in your head, you flip a coin in your head, and you go, that's closer to this or that's closer to that, and that's just it's just a starting point. Sure. Literally, it's just a starting point. It's like I measure it once. I don't remeasure, right? Because it doesn't matter. Right? I just want it to move more than anything else. I want it to move, and then it's represented in the extremity motion, because it's just a baseline structure. It's not an answer to every question. I think the novelty gets people excited and they say, what about this one? What about this one? What about this one? It's like, no, just measure, do, and process.